Welcome back to the channel, you guys. It is Comic Kid here, and today we have yet another action figure review for you guys. Now, this is the last one of the holiday season, we'll say. My Swamp Thing from my fiance was delayed, and so here he is now, and we are ready to crack him open. Now, I'm not actually sure if I've mentioned on the channel before how big a fan I am of Swamp Thing, and so I am just super excited to have this figure here with me today. Now, as y'all can see, he is clearly much bigger than the standard McFarlane piece. This is my whole hand here. And so yeah, he is a big boy, which McFarlane always advertised that it was a mega fig as well. And with that in mind, I do think he's actually slightly bigger than the Darkseid and Steppenwolf from Zack Snyder's Justice League. I could be wrong, I don't own either of those figures, but I know that they are significantly larger than 7 inches as well. Now, the good thing about Swamp Thing is that he is a character that really does not need any particular size. Given his ties to the green, he can really be as small as a potted plant, or as big as the entire Earth, technically. Now, I do want to take a moment to shout out my cousins as well, who got me the gray version. They actually ordered it thinking it'd be the green one, and they got sent the gray one, and so he is happily boxed away and displayed on my shelf. I actually think the grayed out concept is a really good idea, and I've actually seen some really badass customs online. But if you're not familiar with the situation, a lot of people are ending up with the unpainted exclusive, and so it is a bit of a messy scenario there. But we have the green one here today, and I am just super stoked to crack him open. Now, as far as the actual box itself goes, there's really nothing too special about it. It is a box. You can see the character pretty plainly through there. It comes with all the standard stuff from McFarlane that we all kind of expect at this point. I do really like the card on the back here. I just think that overall this is a really great photo, and I'm not at all wanting anything more or less from the overall packaging. And so without any further ado, we will go ahead and crack this guy open. Alrighty, now you guys, here he is out of the box and everything, and I am very impressed with this figure. Like, I do have the DC Essentials one from several years back, and even this one is at a higher scale than the others, and so just to see these two side by side and just how much one towers over the other really gives you a sense of just how big the McFarlane one really is. It is also significantly more detailed than the other one, and I'm not trying to knock this figure in any sort of way, but you definitely get the sense that the McFarlane one is a swamp thing. The other one kind of looks almost like a tree creature more so than anything. Now, with the McFarlane one, you have leaves, branches, vines, twigs, all sorts of things coming off of him. And I think that's really where it's worth celebrating McFarlane on this amount of detail. You have all sorts of different vegetation in this action figure, and it's just insane. Now, before we look at the details up close and personal, we are going to start with the accessories. As always, you have the McFarlane character card, and as I mentioned earlier, I really like the photo that they went with on this. Again, you have the character info on the back as to be expected. You also have your standard DC figure stand, nothing too special about that. I do wish it were a little bit bigger, just because the figure himself is bigger, but the stand overall should still be enough to kind of balance him out if you have him in a bit more dynamic pose. And then the last item that he has in his accessories bin is the spine stabber shard thing, whatever it might be called. And even this thing just has some absolutely insane details on it. Like, look at all that. It's just colored so wonderfully, and just, it looks like it could definitely be a weapon for a being such as Swamp Thing. So all in all, I think McFarlane Toys should be very, very proud of this figure. I do feel like you could say he's a bit light on accessories, but I mean, for as versatile as a character like Swamp Thing is, I don't really know what else I would have added. Like, yes, you could add vines that plug into his back, or like vine hands or anything like that, but you have just such unlimited options with the character that it's really hard to just kind of pick one certain thing, or even multiple. And so, while I probably would have liked to see a bit more accessories, I think this is actually fine. Now, we'll go ahead and get into some of the nitty-gritty details of the character. And I gotta say, I absolutely love what McFarlane has done. Like, from the feet even, like, you can just see how much he's included in this piece, and it just astounds me. Like, everything about the figure just screams Swamp Thing. The textures, the variety. You do have some loose dangly bits that do kind of seem a bit more fragile, like they might snap off, but if you leave the character posed in one certain way, I do think that these pieces overall will be fine. But I mean, just look at this guy. He is incredible. I love the vines here on the chest, and just the leaves on the shoulder, and then we'll get into the face as well. And I mean, just look at this thing. This is definitely one of the strongest Swamp Thing sculpts ever. The Icons one always seemed a little small and skinny in my opinion, and so I just think it's really nice to have something that embodies and just captures the overall essence of the character at like his most badass. Now, to get into the articulation, he actually has toe joints as well. Y'all know that I don't really care one way or the other about toe joints, but for a figure this massive, I do think it is a plus. You do have some ball ankles, which you can kind of see in there. Because of these pieces down here, it does get a little limited, but it's still nice to have that. You also have your double jointed knees, which go back really far. I gotta say, that is some impressive range of motion. Nothing really obstructs the movement there. This dangly bit here just doesn't interfere or anything like that, and so I do think that's a major plus. As far as the hip legs go, again, the crotch is a bit of that like McFarlane soft goods, but it comes out to a pretty nice 90-degree angle. It's not quite the full 90, but it's pretty close. Bend that back down. It does not go back super far though. The butt piece there does kind of prevent it from going any further back, but what you gonna do? As far as the abs, he does bend back a surprising amount. Like, that's some half-decent range of motion there, if I do say so myself. And then he goes forward, not super well. At this point, you start kind of bending the hips more than anything. So, I mean, McFarlane is kind of known for having no forward ab crunch, but there's still at least that little bit of motion there. You do have a twist available. And that upper joint as well also gives you just that much extra range of motion. Now, to get into the arms, everything does go full circle. You do have some leeway in the shoulders there, some butterfly joints. His left is a lot better than the right one. I think that's just my figure personally, but it's kind of hard to get that butterfly shoulder to move, but that's probably just my own figure. He does have single jointed elbows, however. That is about as far up as the elbows come, and so I am a little disappointed in that. I think you could definitely hide it a little better, but you can turn it downwards, and then I do think I'd have appreciated some more detail on the elbows as well. But not a huge deal breaker. As far as the wrists go, they are actually not ball wrists. They're just a single back and forth joint there. But you do get a little bit extra motion than the balls usually account for. So what you sacrifice in some motion, you get in others. And then last but not least, as far as the head is concerned, he doesn't really have any up or down motion. It is very, very minimal, which is a little bit of a letdown, but he can look left and right and so on perfectly fine. And so all in all, I do think this figure does have a few shortcomings, but it's still a great piece to have nonetheless. And really the only shortcomings are in articulation, and he is still significantly better articulated than even this one as well. So all in all, this is probably the definitive Swamp Thing figure at the moment. It is fantastic. If you guys can find it, I would recommend it, especially if you're a fan of Swamp Thing. Now, all in all, I'd probably give the figure like a solid B, maybe a B- because of articulation, but articulation is really the only thing that I can hold against it. Everything else about it I think is just wonderful, and so it might just be an A-, but yeah, all in all, really, really solid figure. I am super stoked to have him on my shelves now. But that is about it for today, you guys. This will hopefully be my last figure review for a while. I'm hoping to get back into some more comic discussions and analysis soon. And so yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. As always, don't forget to check out my side project, True Criminals, and be sure to say hi to my friends over at Next Issue Podcast. And last but not least, don't forget to like and subscribe as well. It really helps out the channel. But thank you guys again, and I will see you again real soon.